Albert Einstein, a name synonymous with genius, forever tied to the equation E equals mac squared, a cornerstone of modern science. But behind that equation is a man whose ideas reshaped our understanding of the universe, who faced immense challenges and who found the strength to leave an indelible mark on history. Einstein was more than a scientist. He was a person who dared to ask questions the world wasn't ready to answer, paving the way for technologies and discoveries that shape our lives today. When you use GPS to navigate, turn on a solar-powered light, or hear about black holes in space, you're touching Einstein's legacy. Yet few recall the days when he was mocked for his bold ideas, the years of isolation when the world turned its back on him, or the resilience that kept him moving forward despite injustice. Born in late 19th century Germany, Einstein grew up in a time of great change. Science was evolving, with new discoveries about electricity, light, and the structure of the cosmos. But society was also rife with prejudice, especially against Jewish people like him. From a young age, Einstein stood out, a curious boy who preferred self-study over rigid classroom rules. His questions, like what makes light move or how time works, weren't just a child's curiosity. They were the seeds of scientific revolutions. Yet his journey was far from easy. He faced skepticism from other scientists, hostility from society, and personal tragedies that tested his resolve. Today, I invite you to explore Einstein's life. Not just the genius behind the equations, but the man with dreams, struggles, and extraordinary strength. We'll journey through the peaks of his scientific achievements, the valleys of his hardships, and the light of resilience that illuminated the world. Before we start, please like and subscribe to Obscure Minds to join us in uncovering lesser-known science stories. And now, let's step back to where it all began. A curious young boy with a compass in hand in 19th century Germany. To understand Einstein's story, let's start with the achievements that shaped our world. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, in the Kingdom of Württemberg, Germany, in a small town with cobblestone streets and traditional wooden houses. His family ran a business manufacturing electrical equipment, giving him early exposure to technical concepts. At age 5, when his father gave him a compass, Einstein was fascinated by the needle pointing in one direction without being touched, wondering what natural force guided it. This question marked the beginning of his lifelong curiosity about the universe. At Luitpold Gymnasium in Munich, Einstein clashed with the rote learning and strict discipline. Teachers saw him as stubborn, predicting he'd struggle to succeed because he didn't follow rules. But outside the classroom, he studied passionately on his own. He read books on Euclidean geometry, Immanuel Kant's philosophy, and Isaac Newton's physics. By age 12, he taught himself algebra and plane geometry, quickly mastering complex concepts. At 16, he began to wonder, if someone moved at the speed of light, what would light look like? This seemingly simple idea was the seed for one of the 20th century's most significant theories. In 1896, at 17, Einstein passed the entrance exam for the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich, one of Europe's top technical schools. There, he studied mathematics, physics, and engineering, but maintained an independent mindset, often debating with professors. He met Mileva Maric, a talented physics student from Serbia, the only woman in his physics class. They became close friends, discussing light, time, and space. Mileva understood Einstein's bold ideas, and their relationship provided crucial support in his early career. After graduating in 1900, Einstein struggled to find a job. He applied to teach at universities across Europe, but was rejected, largely due to his lack of academic connections. He worked as a tutor and temporary teacher to make ends meet, continuing his scientific research in his spare time. In 1902, through a friend's introduction, he landed a job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, reviewing patent applications. The role involved analyzing technical designs, from machinery to electrical devices, but gave him time to think about science. During lunch breaks or evenings, he grabbed scrap paper and a pen, jotting down equations to unravel the universe's mysteries. In 1905, at age 26, Einstein published 4 scientific papers, marking a turning point in science history. the first explained the photoelectric effect, where light ejects electrons from a metal surface. Einstein proposed that light acts not only as waves, but also as energy packets, called quanta. Initially doubted, this idea later became the foundation for solar panels, digital cameras, and optical technologies. In 1921, he received the Nobel Prize in Physics for this work, recognizing its significance. The second paper introduced the special theory of relativity, featuring the famous equation E equals mc squared, showing that energy and mass are interchangeable. This theory stated that time and space aren't fixed, but vary with an object's speed. It transformed our understanding of the universe, enabling technologies like nuclear energy and satellite navigation. Special relativity also laid the groundwork for cosmology, explaining the universe's expansion. In 1915, Einstein completed the general theory of relativity, describing gravity not as a force, but as the bending of space-time caused by massive objects. This theory replaced Newton's concept of gravity, explaining phenomena like Mercury's orbit and the bending of light near large objects. Einstein also predicted gravitational waves, ripples in space-time caused by massive events like black hole collisions. Initially deemed unprovable, these waves were later confirmed, affirming his far-reaching vision. Beyond these major theories, Einstein contributed to other fields. He studied Brownian motion, explaining the random movement of particles in fluids, supporting atomic theory. He also pondered the nature of reality and science's role in exploring the cosmos, inspiring scientists to ask deeper questions. His ideas influenced technologies like GPS, telecommunications satellites, and black hole research, shaping 20th century science and technology. He is regarded as one of the greatest scientists, comparable to Newton, for blending theoretical rigor with vivid imagination. But this brilliance didn't last unchallenged. A shadow was falling, bringing injustices no one could have foreseen. In 1905, at age 26, Einstein worked at the Bern Patent Office, caring for his newborn son, Hans Albert, with his wife Mileva Maric. By day, he reviewed patent applications. By night, he wrote scientific papers. But when he published ideas like the theory of relativity, he faced skepticism from the scientific community. Many physicists in Berlin and Vienna found his theories too radical, challenging concepts established since Newton. Some dismissed his work simply because he was Jewish, reflecting deep-seated prejudice in European society at the time. From childhood, Einstein experienced discrimination due to his Jewish heritage. At school in Munich, classmates called him an outsider and sometimes excluded him from social activities. As an adult, he faced invisible barriers in academia. Some scientists refused to seriously consider his papers, not for their scientific merit, but due to ethnic bias. These challenges forced Einstein to work harder to prove himself, deepening his sense of being marginalized. In 1919, a total solar eclipse verified the general theory of relativity, as astronomers observed starlight bending near the sun, as Einstein predicted. This event made him a global celebrity, praised by international media as a scientist who redefined the universe. However, in his native Germany, his fame sparked backlash. Far-right groups and nationalists viewed him as a threat, labeling him a cultural disruptor for being Jewish and holding progressive scientific views. In 1920, a conference in Berlin was held to publicly discredit his theory of relativity, attended by scientists and politicians opposed to him. The situation worsened in 1933 when the Nazis rose to power. The new regime enacted anti-Jewish policies targeting scholars, artists, and scientists like Einstein. His books were publicly burned in Berlin's streets alongside works by other intellectuals deemed incompatible with Nazi ideology. His home in Berlin was raided and personal belongings were confiscated. A German newspaper even offered a $5,000 reward for anyone who took his life, making him a direct target of violence. Facing growing threats, Einstein realized he was no longer safe in his homeland. He resigned from his academic positions in Germany and fled to the United States, taking few possessions and leaving behind family and friends. The transatlantic journey marked a painful end to his connection with the country he once hoped would be a hub of freedom and science. In the US, Einstein took a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, where he continued his scientific work. However, he never truly felt at home. As an immigrant in a nation grappling with its own political tensions, he felt isolated. He was monitored by US authorities for supporting civil rights movements and expressing concerns about social inequality. Officials suspected him of radical affiliations, though he was merely advocating for fairness. This isolation was compounded by personal struggles. Einstein's marriage to Mileva Maric ended in 1919 after years of strain from work pressures and personal differences. After the divorce, he had little contact with his two sons, Hans Albert and Eduard. Hans Albert grew up distant from his father, while Eduard developed schizophrenia in his 20s, spending much of his life in hospitals. Being unable to support his son during these challenges was a significant burden for Einstein. The greatest hardship came in 1939, when scientists feared Nazi Germany might develop nuclear weapons based on new physics principles. Though not involved in weapons research, Einstein signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, urging the US to start nuclear bomb research to counter the German threat. This letter led to the Manhattan Project, a secret program to develop nuclear weapons. In 1945, when atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing tens of thousands and causing widespread devastation, Einstein was haunted by his indirect role. Though he didn't participate in the project, the link between his scientific ideas and such a catastrophe raised profound ethical questions for him. Additionally, many of Einstein's scientific contributions were overlooked in his era. The photoelectric effect, despite earning a Nobel Prize, wasn't widely recognized as groundbreaking until solar technology emerged. Gravitational waves, a bold prediction, were considered untestable for decades. Einstein was sidelined for his ethnicity, isolated for his unconventional thinking, and burdened by the unintended consequences of his work. But in that darkness, a spark emerged. Einstein did what only the greatest minds dare. He stood up, reignited his drive, and kept fighting. Einstein never let challenges defeat him, whether it was skepticism, isolation, or ethical burdens. Fleeing Nazi Germany in 1933, he arrived in the US with few possessions but an unshakable resolve. At the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, he began a new chapter, continuing his scientific work despite obstacles. He focused on a unified field theory, an ambitious attempt to connect all forces in the universe, gravity, electromagnetism, and nuclear forces, into a single framework. Though aware this goal might be unattainable in his lifetime, he pursued scientific truth with remarkable persistence. He also contributed to other areas, like theoretical physics, engaging with young scientists and sharing new ideas. After the 1945 atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Einstein didn't dwell on negativity. Instead, he turned lessons from the past into action. In 1946, he co-founded the Emergency Committee of Atomic Scientists, an organization advocating for nuclear disarmament and the peaceful use of science. He traveled globally, from international conferences to small classrooms, discussing scientists' responsibility to protect humanity from destructive technologies. He emphasized that science should serve human welfare, not just technical progress. Einstein also fought for social justice. He supported the civil rights movement in the US, speaking out against racism and inequality. He wrote articles and attended events to advocate for equality for African Americans, despite drawing scrutiny from authorities. He also championed educational freedom, urging schools to foster curiosity and creativity rather than rigid learning methods. Despite suspicion and surveillance, Einstein never backed down from defending what he believed was right. In his 70s, Einstein maintained a thirst for learning. He read philosophy books, played the violin to relax, and answered questions from children and young people worldwide. When a young girl asked why he studied the universe, he explained he wanted to understand how the world works and humanity's place in it. He encouraged others to stay curious and embrace mistakes as part of discovery. His dedication to sharing knowledge inspired generations of scientists and students, from lab researchers to kids dreaming of the stars. Einstein's legacy endures in the modern world. The global positioning system, GPS, relies on his theory of relativity, adjusting for time shifts caused by satellite speeds relative to Earth. Solar panels, digital cameras, and optical devices stem from his work on the photoelectric effect. Gravitational waves, once thought unprovable, are now used in astronomy to study events like black hole collisions and the universe's expansion. His theories also influence research at institutions like CERN, where physicists explore the nature of matter and energy. Einstein's mind remains a profound mystery. His ability to imagine time stretching or space bending went beyond ordinary comprehension. After his death in 1955, scientists studied his brain, seeking what made him exceptional, but answers eluded them. He left his unified field theory unfinished, a reminder that science is an ongoing quest for questions, even when answers are out of reach. He inspired generations of children and researchers to explore, from amateurs with telescopes to professionals in cutting-edge labs. Today, we live in a world Einstein helped build, yet we risk overlooking other talents due to race, gender, or background. Einstein reminds us that creativity and science can come from unexpected places, and society must nurture those who think differently. He urges us to question, pursue truth, and stand against injustice, no matter the circumstances. And as his light continues to shine, I wonder, what will we do to keep that flame burning? As I reflect on Albert Einstein, I think of a man who brought the light of knowledge to humanity, but didn't receive the fairness he deserved in his lifetime. Every day we use GPS to find our way, take photos with our phones, or learn about new discoveries about the universe, from black holes to the expansion of space. All of these bear Einstein's imprint, from the equation E equals mc squared to his ideas about light and space-time. But do we ever pause to consider the dreams that drove him, the long nights working alone, or the willpower that carried him through obstacles that seemed insurmountable? Einstein wasn't just a scientist, he was a symbol of persistence, curiosity, and courage, representing the past, present, and future of science. Einstein's story reminds us that those who change the world often face great challenges. He was doubted for his bold ideas, marginalized for his ethnicity, and weighed down by the moral consequences of science's unintended outcomes. Yet he never gave up. He kept asking questions, fighting for justice, and inspiring those around him. I wonder, are there other Einsteins out there, brilliant minds overlooked because they're different, because they come from unnoticed backgrounds, or because their era isn't ready? Are there questions we haven't dared to ask, fearing ridicule or rejection? Can we learn from Einstein to stay curious, resilient, and unwavering in the face of a difficult path? Einstein's legacy goes beyond equations or technologies. It lies in how he encouraged us to see the world with fresh eyes, to question what seems obvious, and to seek truth despite obstacles. He reminds us that science isn't just about exploring the external universe, but also about discovering the potential within each person. In a rapidly changing world, with new challenges in the environment, technology, and society, Einstein's lessons remain relevant. We need to nurture those who think differently, provide opportunities for overlooked talents, and build a society where every idea is heard, regardless of origin or circumstance. Einstein's journey also prompts us to ask ourselves, how do we carry forward the flame he lit? How do we inspire the next generation to question, explore, and work toward a better world? Perhaps the answer lies in small steps, reading a new book, trying a new idea, or simply listening to others with an open mind. Einstein gave us a world filled with light. Now it's up to us to ensure that light never fades. Please share your thoughts in the comments. What part of Einstein's story resonates with you most? Is there another scientist or figure whose journey you'd like us to explore? Thank you for joining Obscure Minds on this long journey. If Einstein's story sparked something in you, please like, share this video with friends, and subscribe to our channel to discover more untold science stories. Wishing you an evening full of inspiration, and I hope we'll meet again soon under the light of the stars to continue this quest for knowledge.